What's poppin', y'all? It looks like FaZe Banks has been going through it on his IG story, and this is hilarious because he posted what looks to be like something what a 16-year-old in 2009 would post, which is heart over dollar signs. Homies will link with rats, and then this looks like Chuck E. Cheese, just to prove they get cheese. And then he's misspelled cheese. You could see the E written over the S. And he's doing this with nails painted. Nails not even fully painted. I don't even know what this nail paint is supposed to be. You could see the Spider-Man sticker on whatever it is on the left side. And this guy's got an Abercrombie and Fitch logo tattooed on his hand. I don't understand anything that's going on here. Well, I do understand it, but when you talk about 16-year-old in 2008, 2009, that would be, would that be Banks when he was that age? Maybe he's just permanently stuck at that age, which is all fine and good, but it's like, dog, what are you doing posting this? However, I do understand his frustration business-wise because XQC would go on to talk about Banks being a bad businessman. I'm gonna play you guys that clip right now.
He probably justifies these dog endeavors, right? Because he gets the short end of the stick on everything else. He's a businessman. Because the guy cannot. He's a businessman. Is he a human? I won't even make that call. I think that would be uncharitable. He's just a businessman. Yo, let's see. You can speak English, bro. Buddy, don't you have... Yo, you have bigger fish to fry. Well, buddy, you have bigger fish to fry. I know right now you have a lot on your plate. You always have a lot on your plate. But today, even more. So, take a seat. Watch the goddamn stream, buddy, and start chumming at your food. Leave us alone, little buddy. Chat, Banks is the Pokemon of social media, let's be honest. Hold on. Doesn't really make that much content anymore. And his overall stature is pretty hated on the internet. So when it comes out with takes or whatever, he usually gets shit on. That's what if you guys might not like my take, that's what it is. His overall, the taste people have in their mouth when they start watching something like a video like this is they already don't like him. Which is not totally unfair. I think there's been enough things that he did in the past and enough controversies that people have that, and it's going to be hard to heal, right? The problem with Banks is that he does good on everything when it comes down to building shit, right? And if he acts like some on the internet, and people already hate him, so he's going to look like the bad guy. He looks like the bad guy, it is what it is. I mean, he looks kind of like a scumbag now because it's like, oh, dude, I make these guys, I want my piece of the pie, whatever. And he sounds bitter. And it's unfortunate because you can say he is... Brother, even if I were to agree with you, right? Guys, I'm not even biased about any of this, by the way, okay? I'm just telling you that the positive impact, he could be as bitter as he wants to be, right? His positive impact is still at least, it's materialized. It's the benefits from what he's done will always be felt, and people keep the profit of that. People will continue to gain and to keep what the positive that he did, and that's the truth. But that doesn't mean that what he's doing and what he's saying is also true. Everything he's saying is bitter, it's annoying, it's entitled, he looks like a all true. But the positive is also true.
So XQC has experience being in an org, being one of the players of an org. Well, multiple actually, one of which damn near didn't pay him anything. However, you can't argue that he was a good businessman here, because one thing that Banks talks about is like, yo, he sold these players, or these streamers in this case, a dream, and he sold the investors a dream, and this was self-admitted by Banks, and he was like, we're gonna figure out the money stuff later. And yeah, that's definitely bad business, because as we saw, these guys blew up. They don't want to give up any money. Those guys invested money. They want to start making money. And this is where I think this really hurts Banks, because you guys got to keep in mind, how many times has FaZe gone through something like this? Initially, they had that IPO situation where he had like sold it and people weren't happy with him back then. And then it kind of became worthless again. So much so to the point that Matt Kalish was able to buy it for like, what, $10 million, which is pennies pennies on the dollar for that guy. And then this happens again. So at this point, Banks was pretty much using his clout, if you want to call it that, and respect within this industry to business people and saying like, hey, look, you know, you my guys might not know this content stuff. You guys know this business stuff, but I know this content stuff. I've put on this person, like this thing's going to be huge. Streaming is lit. Your kids, they watch streams, right? And they're like, yeah, Banks, they watch that stuff. That's all the rage. He's like, yeah, man, you get to invest in the next wave of streamers. And then now this turns into FaZe quickly turns from, oh, this thing is worth however much those streamers are worth in brand deals and all of that, which is a lot, that new FaZe, that group of people, into everybody leaving. And now this thing is suddenly worth nothing. So I think this really dirties the name of FaZe Banks, because like if you're an investor, if you're a business guy, these guys all talk to each other. If someone's like, yeah, you know, this Banks guy, or Ricky, yeah, this Ricky guy, you know, he's telling me to invest in this new thing with these like gamers and all of that, they're probably looking and it's like, oh yeah, that guy, yeah, I bought this asset and then everybody left and it became worth nothing and we dumped tens of millions of dollars into it. Oh, okay. So I think that kind of burns his reputation from being able to do something like this again. Do I think he could corral a bunch of people and put them on? Yes, because he's somewhat of a, not a mythical figure. That would be crazy glaze. But if you've been on the internet and you've been into content to a degree, like Banks is up there with the respect that people have for someone being able to choose and foster talent and get them to blow up. You can't deny that. But one of the things with the business side is Mizkif, who was actually a co-owner of his own org, talked about this before this whole thing imploded and predicted it. So I'm going to play you guys this clip right now.
Org where we all make content together and then we would one day sell the org, right? We wanted to sell OTK to a company where it's like, hey, you're in charge of this now. And we basically take a step back at around this time of my age. I was like, I'm around, when we're all 30, 35, whatever, we take a step back. There's new young blood in the OTK sphere and we just basically chill. Well, that failed miserably because the truth is, orgs in general, just no one wanted to buy it. And it makes sense why you don't want to buy it, right? In 2018, it was such a hot word, org, group. 100 Thieves sold for $100 million or something like that. They made a ton of money off that deal. But when we got in too late. And all the companies started becoming smart. And they're just like, okay, well, because it was me and Asman were the two biggest people. They're like, okay, but what happens if Mizkif and Asman take a huge break? And we're like, oh, well, that won't happen. Well, Asman did for 8 months. They know that. They're like, when Asman took a break, you guys lost a lot. What happens when one of your streamers gets canceled? What happens when there's a controversy? It you over the whole business. So unless you guys are squeaky clean Teletubbies, you're basically asking for this to be a failure, and no one took the bite. We did not get it. The truth is, it just didn't make sense for anyone to ever purchase. And it didn't make sense to really run and operate. So now it's very small. I don't do OTK anymore because I moved here. They're all in Texas, but the thing is, we still have Mythic Talent, which is our agency.
So here he was talking about his own group, OTK, One True King, which was like him, Asmongold, a bunch of these other people, Emiru, which was his like secret girlfriend at the time. But even he said, yeah, this thing was unprofitable and we couldn't sell it. Like the business guys were like, well, if you sell this thing, what happens if this guy takes a break? And they're like, well, he's not going to take a break. And then, you know, he said Asmongold took a break and that was a huge hit. So this thing was dependent on the people that were a part of it continuing to, you know, or not leaving, number one. But really, they were saying not getting canceled or having something bad happen to them. But in the scenario with FaZe, what if all of them just leave? And we got to see exactly what happens. All of them left, and now this thing is damn near worthless. So Mizkif was really, he was right on the nose with this one. We got to give him credit for that one. But one thing that I was wondering was, what about like the FaZe gaming side of things? And Kason, he was a part of that. So it says FaZe Esports. It's the gaming side. That's the side that everyone loves. FaZe Esports is here to stay. We remain our own separate operation, and our focus stays the same: bringing home trophies, building world-class rosters, and putting on a show for the best fans in esports. And Kason responded to this and said, as I've stated before and will say one last time to make it clear, we're here to stay. A completely separate operation, an operation we care about. Despite leaving FaZe Clan, I will continue leading the charge at FaZe Esports. Let's go win some championships, FaZe up. And these guys are actually performing very well. Like their esports teams are consistently at the top. But Matt Kalish, he would respond to this whole situation. The current financial structure of FaZe is unsustainable, according to Matt Kalish, Chief Executive Officer of Hardscope, a FaZe investor. He gave the influencers, who operated from a multi-million-dollar Los Angeles mansion, the option to go independent or sign deals with Hardscope. He ended talks with them last week and plans to continue on without them. My best guess is they're all good kids and have a lot of people in their ear and are confused, Kalish said in an interview. FaZe had subsidized a lot of their expenses, he added. I mean, Banks said it was up to $40 million. I don't know if it was that high, but it's definitely in the tens of millions, including the price to buy it. The influencers felt the terms Kalish offered were unfavorable, according to a person with knowledge of discussions who asked not to be identified. The talks had gone on for about half a year. A co-founder of sports betting site DraftKings, Kalish began investing in FaZe last year. He said he's put $10 million into the talent group over the past 18 months to expand their careers. And he launched Hardscope as a way to turn creators into next-gen media moguls. This seems like more of a talent agency. The business connects sponsors and fans with personalities who stream content on sites like Twitch. So yeah, he probably thought that's also something that OTK had, which was this like agency that brings them sponsors and stuff underneath the business. But what is the situation with FaZe Esports and FaZe Clan? Because Gamesquare, they own the percentage, they own all of FaZe Esports, and they kind of ended up winning in this situation because in the transaction details, Gamesquare had posted this when this came out. So FaZe Media, and this FaZe Media is FaZe Clan. This was when they got that whole group together because they owned 50% of FaZe before Matt Kalish came in. And Matt Kalish had 49%. So this was the whole 51-49 thing, I believe, that FaZe Rain was talking about. And then Gamesquare sold 25% of their 50 to Matt Kalish. So Matt Kalish could become majority owner. So he would have around 74% or so. And that was for the $11 million. It says FaZe Media is a new operating subsidiary of Gamesquare, with the company owning 51% of FaZe Media and Kalish owning the remaining 49%. FaZe Media will focus on developing a creator-led internet media company. FaZe Banks is the CEO of FaZe Media. With Kalish and Kenna serving on the board and in governance roles, Gamesquare will continue to own 100% of the esports competition assets under FaZe Esports. So FaZe Media were there's the whole FaZe, and then there's two sections, FaZe Media and FaZe Esports. Gamesquare owns all of FaZe Esports, and Gamesquare owned a percentage of FaZe Media. So it says on June 18th, 2024, it sold 25.5% in FaZe Media for $9.5 million to an entity controlled by FaZe Media's CEO, FaZe Banks. The sale follows an $11 million investment by Matt Kalish for 49% of FaZe Media that was completed in May 2024, and that values FaZe Media at approximately $40 million. So I think this is where FaZe Banks is getting the $40 million number. Gamesquare continues to own 100% of FaZe Esports. Yeah, because I don't believe that $40 million was spent on these guys. It just doesn't make sense unless these guys they couldn't bot that hard. 40 million in a year and a half, they'd have to be flying private consistently. They'd have to be moving like Aiden Ross. And even then it would probably be, it would be 40 million at that point. Justin Kenna, CEO of Gamesquare, today's announcement is a win-win. FaZe Media, since completing the acquisition of FaZe Clan in March 2024, our strategy has been focused on reigniting the FaZe brand by returning its founders in a meaningful way. So it's still owned 25.5 in FaZe Media. Now, the thing is, FaZe Media, it pretty much is worthless now because these guys all left. And what's left is FaZe Esports. So FaZe Esports gets to carry the FaZe name and the FaZe brand and really the original aspect of it, which was gaming. And it's 100% owned by GameSquare. So really the value ended up going up for them. They sold for $11 million to something that's worth probably $1,100 now, or not $1,100, but it's tanked because there's nobody that is currently a member of FaZe Media. So FaZe Esports, so they got a bag off of that, and now FaZe Esports is the only thing that is alive. So Gamesquare is the ones that took the biggest W on this. FaZe Banks took the L. Matt Kalish ended up taking the L. It's a baby L for him, but this for FaZe Banks, you got to think this is this guy's life's work. So he's for sure down bad, but like he's got to turn the net spend off, that's for sure. But let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. I think this was never going to work out. I think FaZe Banks was just able to use like clout connections and was able to sell these guys on something. If you had offered this 20%, back in the beginning, I don't know if all of them would have joined. I don't think Blackboy Max was joining for a 20% cut last year. And I think, yeah, I don't think that's happening because he was already making a ton of money. So for him to offer 20%, some of the other guys, maybe. I mean, Ronaldo, they got him in 2022. So that was a whole different story with that. But it just didn't, it was never going to work out in this way because streamers don't want to give a percentage unless the people are giving them like upfront cash, because the streamers would probably think, oh, I could just get a crib myself. But that goes to a different story, which is, would they be able to run it? And I'll probably cover that in a separate video. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And I'm going to see you on the next one.